Welcome back to another episode of Catching Up with Coach. It has been a while since I've been back. It's been certainly a few weeks, close to a month, since I've come on and spoken about the Raptors and where they're at this time. I want to do a little bit of a state of the union of the Raptors just from my own perspective. Obviously, I'm not going to go for 3 hours and blame the other side. I'm not going to do that. Life's too short for that kind of stuff. So let's discuss the Raptors. Before the season started, I had this team winning anywhere between 38 and 42 games. And they have pleasantly surprised me to see the win-loss record now. Because now they're 9 games above 500, playing Washington um, tomorrow night as of this recording. I have to assume with Washington tanking right now that they're going to be 10 games above 500 and we'll have 35 wins. And they'll have it before the 1st of March, which is really good. With all the problems that this team had last year, staying healthy, lack of shooting, lack of size, they have really fought to win games this year. They've really bought in defensively into Darko and his staff. As of this recording, they're in sixth in defensive rating in the NBA, but there's only like 0.1 difference between them and Houston. I think the Raptors might be 112.6. I think Houston's 112.5, something like that. So let's just call the Raptors, let's just say that they're fourth. They're more or less tied for fourth in defensive rating. So being a top 4 or 5 team on defense in the league, really good, especially since you haven't been playing without a center all year. You've had a 6'6" undersized center. You've had Scotty play some center. You've had Mamu play some center, and you're still top five, top six in the league defensively. Now the numbers show certainly with CMB that they are very good defensively. They are like a top 2, 4, 5 team in the league when they have CMB starting center. A lot of switchability out on the perimeter. He's pretty good at protecting the rim despite his size, despite his height, I should say, because he's got size. He's physical enough and he has the strength to battle down low with bigger guys, certainly. So I give him credit for that. But at the same time, offensively, it's not good with this particular five that they've been starting for a good chunk of the season. About a month ago, I think there was a stat released to how per over 200 possessions of that starting five, we're like bottom four with that group. It was pretty bad. There's no shooting or very little shooting. Basically, you're getting it from Quickly and Ingram. Scotty's not giving you any type of outside shooting. CMB's not giving you any outside shooting. RJ's kind of gone cold lately, especially since he's come back from injury. I just don't think he's healthy. And now you got Scotty's injury, which he's dealing with. So the Raptors are really stuck with outside shooting. And it's been a theme throughout the year. I believe in 3-point percentage, they're 23rd. And that's a problem. It's amazing that they are fifth in the Eastern Conference, despite being in the bottom third of the league in 3-point shooting and going 4-9 against people in their own division. That's not good. That basically means, okay, you've beat Brooklyn a few times and maybe you beat Philly a few times because they have not beat Boston. They have not beat New York. They have not beat Detroit. And we know their record against about 500 teams. It's not good. So it is quite something. They are holding down the fifth seed in the East. So, in terms of that, I have been surprised that they are doing this well. There is a flip side to it, though, especially earlier in the year. We ran into a lot of teams that were missing guys. We would play teams. Okay, Embiid's not playing tonight. So and so's not playing tonight. Franz Wagner's not playing tonight, or Jalen Suggs isn't playing tonight. And then you'd run into Atlanta. Trae Young was never playing, or so and so wasn't playing. Like we ran it. We had a schedule earlier on the year that, quite honestly, was really easy. I think it was Grange that came out and said between playing Indiana and Brooklyn, and there was another team I can't remember. They all had one win at the time. Yeah, one win. And the Raptors took advantage. You can only play who is in front of you. But here's my problem with that. And you're starting to see it the more better teams they play. How good is this team? Are we in the league of the New Yorks and the Boston? Or are we more in the play-in spots with those teams? The Miamis, the Orlandos, the Charlottes of the world. I think the East is broken up into tiers. So Detroit is in a tier by itself. Their offense, their defense, it's really good. Cade Cunningham, right now for me, is the MVP of the league. If they finish first, definitely if they have the overall best record in the league, he's winning MVP for me. But I think they're definitely going to win the East this year. Like they're going to have the best record in the East. And Cade has been phenomenal. That Detroit team, they play so hard. The Thompson twin, Ron Holland, Duran, Harris. They have shooting. Like they have a little bit of everything. I do wonder in the playoffs what that's going to look like, though, because they haven't had a whole lot of playoff success yet. But this could be their year. Like this is a team that could go to the NBA Finals. They're that good. But the playoffs are a different animal. It becomes more physical, which could help them. But I wonder, are they going to have enough shooting in the playoffs? That's my concern for Detroit. Got everything else. Athleticism. Enough size, I think. But so Detroit is in a tier by themselves. And then you go Boston, New York, and Cleveland. They are in the next tier of teams. Toronto is not in that tier. Sorry, they're not. Once Cleveland got James Harden, because Garland hurt all year. Once they got James Harden, that was a great move for them. Now you're starting to see Cleveland really pick up the pace. You've got Harden, you've got Mitchell, you've got Mobley, you've got Allen, Tyson, Max Strus, who's back or coming back if he's not. They got shooting, they got size, they got defensive player of the year, they got a superstar, they got a guy who can run point hard. They got a lot. It would not shock me if the Cleveland Cavaliers went to the NBA Finals either. If they get it together, especially defensively. I'm not worried about them offensively, but defensively. Because you are asking a lot of Harden and Mitchell defensively. Not worried about the rest. But they're going to have to bring it defensively. So Cleveland, Boston, New York are in a tier by themselves right now. And then that next tier of teams is the Raptors and Philly. I think you could put Orlando in there. And Charlotte's becoming a question if they should be in there because Charlotte's looking really good. So I have the Raptors in that next tier of teams. Right now, they're holding down the fifth seed. Again, if you told me before the season started we would be there, I would have laughed. So they're doing just enough to hold on to that fifth seed. And beyond and hopeful myself, we were talking and kind of looked at the schedule from now to the rest of the year, or to the end of the year. And basically, we see this team going about 500, I would say, because you're going to have teams that are tanking, but you're going to have teams fighting for playing or playoff spots. So the Raptors, since the All-Star break, I think are 2-2. They beat Chicago, they beat Milwaukee. You need to win those games. You came close with OKC, and you made it very close against the Spurs. You should have won the Spurs game, but you're 2-2 now. And I think this team probably will go 500 for the rest of the way. I think they'll probably be like 8 to 10 games above 500 by the time that the year ends. Because you're going to run into a few teams that you just don't know. They're going to tank or they're going to sit guys. I hope Adam Silver does something about that. So I think the Raptors, if I think their goal, obviously, if you get home court advantage in the playoffs, you do it. But I think holding on to the fifth seed, going from what we saw last year, that was the embarrassment of all seasons, to this year, has been quite a turnaround. And part of that turnaround has been Brandon Ingram, leading scorer of the team, 22 points a game. I think he's second in rebounding too. It is about 6 rebounds a game, 4 assists. Ingram is also shooting 37% from three on about 5 attempts per game. So Brandon Ingram, and he's also shooting 83% from the free throw line. We finally have a guy who can get his own bucket. Siakam could, but not in the way that Ingram can. They're just different players. Siakam will just outwork you and give you the business in the paint. He'll give you the footwork, the pump fakes, all that stuff, the quickness. Ingram, you can tell he grew up with developing guard skills. So Ingram beats you with his shot release and getting to his spots. He beats you with being able to kind of use his length and then also have his shot form almost behind his head, which makes it very difficult to block his shot. That's how Ingram is able to get his own shot. And he's just super long, too. He's been very good this year defensively as well, in my opinion. Brandon Ingram's not known to be a great defensive player, but he's been about average to above average this year when you watch him on the court. He's been very good. Because if you don't have Brandon Ingram on this team might have 20 wins on the year. Might. They just wouldn't be that good. Scotty Barnes. Best year of his career. No question. He's probably on a short list to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's been an all-star this year, well-deserved. I said that he would be. And the offensive game lately has taken a bit of a step back. The shooting, he's now under 30% from three. Again, I think this is just going to be his game moving forward. You know, you would like to see him around 32, 33%, I think, from three. But if this is what he gives you for the next few years, and maybe some of the scoring percentages go up a little bit, you're okay with that. He has carved out a nice role. I think he's probably a third scoring option on a really good team, but he's your best two-way player. There's no question. He is a very good connective piece. The mid-range game has gotten better, that's for sure. He's attacked the rim more this year. He's been a menace at the rim, protecting it. You can't ask much more of Scotty defensively. He's been phenomenal. But also this year, you're starting to realize more of what you have with him. And it's good. Now, is he, all NBA good? I don't think so. But he's good. You're still looking for that guy, I think, that gets you 25 a game. I thought it might have been Ingram, and I think at times it can be, but you're still missing something. RJ Barrett. My guy. I like him. I've always liked RJ. Saw RJ play when he was 14 years old in Halifax on the U17 Ontario team. And he was able to keep up just fine. Why I say that, because anyone who plays basketball knows there's a big difference between when you're 14 years old versus when you're 17 years old. And RJ did just fine. Physically, he's able to keep up with the pace of the game as well. Big difference. RJ started off the year really well, efficient, great, and then he had that injury, and he's never really been the same since. Looks like he's sometimes not as quick off his feet. Looks like some of his moves or the way he moves his feet, it's kind of like lumbering a little bit. What I mean is just like very heavy feet, and that could be due to the injuries that he's been having. But RJ, to me, has taken a step back ever since he came back from his injury. And it's been noticeable because they're not really being able to execute offense quite the same. I find a lot more is now on Ingram's shoulders to produce. At the first of the year, it wasn't. It was more of a democracy in terms of, RJ was there to give you 20 a night. Ingram was giving you 20 plus, and Scotty was there for about 18, 19. It was Quickly who was struggling in the beginning of the year. Now Quickly has really picked it up, especially with his 3-point shooting. Quickly now on the year shooting 38% from three. He's given you, he's averaging 17 points per game and about 6 assists and a steal too. Quickly's defense has been pretty good this year. For a guy that doesn't get really noted for his defense, it hasn't been bad. At one time I checked, he was in the 66th percentile. I'll take that from my starting point guard. He doesn't have to be Marcus Smart out there, but you just have to be above average. And I think he has been. Before the year started, I was on record saying that he was the catalyst this year. He was the X factor because he's the only one on the team that has the skill set of shooting above the break threes, dribble pull up threes, stationary threes for a team that doesn't have a lot of 3-point shooting. And he still sometimes has issue with getting his shot off. Like he does need a little bit of space to get it off. And that is kind of a problem, not so much for him, but for the rest of the team that really struggles shooting the three. We have one guy shooting over 40% from 3-point range. It's Jamison Battle, who saved his team a few games into the season against Cleveland and never really saw the floor again. So Quickly lately has been really good. Ever since they had that West Coast trip, he's been good. Got no issues. I know people complain about the contract, and I've had my comments about it as well. But you know what? The contract is the contract at the end of the day. He got his money. Good for him. But we all know the Raptors are trying to trade him, stuff like that, if you believe the rumors. But that skill set of 38% from three, I don't know where we'd be without it this season. At least he can shoot. I don't like the floater so much all the time, but at least he can shoot threes. And then Grady Dick. About a month ago, I had a slight disagreement with some people in Raptors media who cover the team. And they were saying, wow, Grady's going to play better. Obviously, I get the point of, well, everyone has to play better. So that's too simplistic. I was saying Darko needs to take a different approach with him. You have to play him and let him get into rhythm to build up a confidence. And I said that because of all the injuries that we had at the time. And lo and behold, Grady was starting to produce a bit. Whenever he scores 10 plus points, the Raptors have this really good record. So they need Grady Dick. But here's the issue, and I can't defend him anymore for it. Darko's been playing him lately. Ever since all the guys came back, he's still been getting some minutes. But he's not doing anything at all right now. The confidence is gone. He's slinging the basketball on his shot. I don't know if they did anything to his jump shot. Whatever they did, fire that person. How you take a guy at Kansas who was basically 40% from three to what he is now. It's like the guy forgot how to shoot. Total, his confidence has really gone down the tubes. From the guy that we saw last year, the first 2 or 3 months of the season, who was second, I think, in sophomore scoring, averaged like 18 to 20 a game. And he had a streak last year of a few games averaging like 25, and everybody was hurt. to what you see now, it's sad because we know that he can give more. Grady's talented. He's athletic. He can shoot. He's got decent size. I think the defense actually has gotten better this year compared to what it was. But Grady, it's not been a good year for him. They have to come. They have to reflect on it. Do you see him on this team moving forward? You can't have him shooting 30%. You did not draft him to shoot 30% from three. Is he more than just a shooter? I think he is, actually, but regardless, he cannot shoot 30% from three. He will not last in the league if he's doing that. That's why it's so important. The Raptors got to get a guy in here who can shoot and just kind of get his own bucket. Brandon Ingram is the only guy on this team that can really get his own bucket when you need one. It ain't Scotty. It's not RJ. It's not Quickly. It's not Jacoby. It's not Shed. It's just Ingram. That's it. And that's why I think getting into this draft this year and where the draft pick will be is important. Right now, I think if the playoffs started today, it would be around the 20th pick. It's not bad. Some might argue, yeah, you know what? Let's see if we can fall back a bit so we can get a better draft pick. What does it matter really this year? As long as you get into the playoffs. It would be, I think at the pick 20, you're still going to get someone decent. Such a deep draft this year, it really is. But the Raptors got to capitalize in getting someone who can get a bucket. Last year's draft, in my opinion, they needed to, yes, draft the best talent, but they had to get bigger. And they had multiple opportunities in the draft, not just CMB, but you passed up on Maxime Reynaud, too, for Elijah Martin. The kid plays hard. Not saying that he doesn't. He ain't Reynaud. Reynaud really could have helped this team this year, especially with Pirtle going down. You drafted CMB, who is not the kid who's the issue. I think it's just more roster construction, but he's playing out of position. He's playing above his size, which kudos to him. Offensively, he has been what I thought he was going to be. Defensively, he is exactly what I thought he was going to be. But at the end of the day, if you want to compete with Cleveland and New York and Boston and Detroit, you need size. And that's why it might be something, hopefully in the offseason, they do try to address. And I don't mean at the draft so much. Draft the best player. I really like this Cameron Carr kid from Baylor who can really shoot the basketball and play defense. I like this Amari Allen kid from Alabama, 6'8", long, wing. Seems shoot 37% from three. I like Juke Harris out of Wake Forest. He reminds me of a taller, more athletic Gary Trent Jr. Except he's like 6'7". It's all about trying to get a guy in who can just, number one, has good shot form. Two, it's quick and consistent all the time. It's not slow. I love Jameson Battle, but that form is slow. Scotty's form is so slow. We have some just guys on the team that have slow forms. Mamu's isn't slow. His is fine. RJ's is fine. Quickly's is fine. Ingram's is pretty good, consistent. But this team, with the importance of shot-making ability, I think there's some guys around that 18 to 22 area you might be able to get that could really help this team. Cameron Carr being one. Christian Anderson, guy can shoot. Another. Juke Harris, like I said, and Amari Allen. Kid from Arizona, Braden Burries, if he was to fall. You'll always have guys that fall in the draft. That's how we literally get Jacoby Walter. So in conclusion for this episode, the State of the Union for the Raptors, I would say for the most part it is strong. Still some questions about what exactly you have with this team. The good news is Pirtles, I think, is starting to get more healthy. You're going to need some size, especially when you're going to go down the stretch and play teams with a bit more size, more physicality. But State of the Union is pretty good. I'm going to leave it there. So thank you very much, everyone. Please take care. We'll see you next time.